It's really bad, but I appreciate the MLS.
That's good to say to someone that follows MLS.
We are live, by the way. Yes, another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. We are connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. So much to cover from Euro 2020. And, of course, I'm fully repping the Azzurri today. Plus six, in the plus minus so far. 2 victories, looking absolutely dominant. We got, of course, Jerry Mancini, my co-host as always. We've got Roberto Rojas from BN Sports and Low Limit Football. We got Austin Robillard, my main man down here locally with me in South Florida from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Before we bring in our special guests and let them introduce ourselves, Jerry, are they still partying in the Toronto area? Did you drive through Woodbridge yesterday? Were they honking their horns and displaying their flags? I don't think any cities in Italy celebrate as much as Woodbridge, Ontario, Canada celebrates. Did you drive through those scenes yesterday?
I used to be that guy when I was younger. So it's really from my parents' house to Woodbridge Market Lane. I would say it's 3-minute drive. That's nice. All it is. Yeah, walking distance maybe 20 minutes, and it's crazy. Back in the day, it was worse than that. Crazy, where you couldn't even get on the street, bumper to bumper. I'm a firm guy now that I don't go honking during the group stage. It's too premature for me. Wait
till the knockout stage.
Yeah, it's bad luck, I find, man. It's like karma. It's I don't know, man. And for me, yeah, okay. I'm happy with how I think Italy's been the best team in the Euros, personally. I don't care who they play. I hate this notion that, you played the easiest teams.
Well, hey, hold on. Let me interrupt you for a second, because obviously, like you, I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched, and I do want to see, once they start facing in the knockout stages, the elite competition. But I will point out that before this tournament started, people, myself included, because they looked really good in the previous international break, were really hyping up Turkey, really hyping them up. And then, they get crushed by Italy 3-0. And then everyone's like, oh, well, that's not a real opponent. Turkey, who gives a shit? Same thing with Switzerland. I mean, people are hyping up Switzerland a bit, and they get crushed 3-0. And now it's, Italy hasn't played anybody. So it's convenient how the argument changes after these games, Jerry.
I agree. Well, our pre-tournament podcast, I said that Italy was going to win the Euros. I was adamant and confident that this team was going to win it. I said we have a good manager that is guiding this team. And I think that's the biggest thing of any team in football. If you got to remember, these guys don't play every day together. They play 3 games, they go off for 6 months. They come back, they play 2 games, they go off for 6 months. So being in Roberto Mancini's position, he needs to be able to get this team as organized as possible, ready to go. And I think in every aspect of this game, he's picked every position properly. He's got an Immobile. I think the biggest thing is he's got an Immobile playing at an elite level. I think a lot of people doubted him. I never doubted this guy, because we too often criticize strikers for not scoring goals, and we don't look at what they do off the ball. And Immobile and Lukaku are 2 perfect examples of what they do when they don't score. They dribble, the hold-up play, their physicality, the way they draw other players open is so just important as scoring goals. So for me, if Immobile is scoring 2 straight games, confidence through the roof, you can't ask for more. I thought Belgium was bad in the first half today, but turned around in the second half. I'd love to hear what you guys got to say, because I can keep going, but I want you guys to talk too.
Yeah, well, let me bring in Austin Robillard. And, Austin, Roberto Rojas and I were talking
Alex,
off air. Go ahead.
Sorry, and later I want to get Roberto's opinion on Copa America as well, because he's the expert on that. And I actually got to watch the Argentina game the other day. So I really, as much as everybody loves the Euros, Roberto's, and I'm not sure if you watched it too, Austin, but I think Copa America doesn't get enough appreciation, in my opinion. So, and I think Roberto's smiling because he probably knows I'm right about this one. So.
Well, let me bring in Austin on one note, and then we'll get into Copa America as well. Was watching earlier today the Belgium-Denmark game, and Denmark they took a quick 1-0 lead. I thought, like Jerry said, Belgium didn't look good in the first half, but Denmark, they were flying in the first half, and of course there's a lot, as we know, going on off the pitch, and the entire world of football stopped this past Saturday. And of course, it hit the Danish national team, a lot harder than it hit anyone else. And that was the tragic. Well, thankfully, he's alive and well, and he's okay. But what happened to Christian Eriksen this past Saturday? Obviously, that was very emotional for the Danish team, and they came out looking like they were just possessed by their teammate Christian Eriksen, who's recovering in hospital in Copenhagen. And they just looked unbelievable, Austin, in the first half. And then really when De Bruyne came on in the second half, things really changed for Belgium, but they were able to snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat.
Yeah, like you said, the world of football took a step back there for a little bit, and to see the Denmark team perform that well on that kind of occasion, especially playing the number one FIFA ranked team in the world, especially in that first half, Poulsen getting the early goal, fantastic finish from the top of the box. I mean, it was really great to see, and they were outplaying Belgium on all fronts, defensively, from in the midfield, the attack. Braithwaite looked like a Barcelona striker at some points, which he doesn't do for Barcelona. So there were times where I thought Braithwaite would get the second goal in the first half, or Poulsen would get another one. And Højbjerg, by the way, too. He is unbelievable. I don't think he gets enough credit. He doesn't get enough credit in Tottenham. And obviously Tottenham is Tottenham, but I think he's a really important player. He had a great game, especially in that first half. They did look possessed by something. They played a phenomenal job, and I know the manager attested to that post game and said he was really proud. But with De Bruyne coming on in the second half, it just changed everything, and he absolutely oozed his class all over the field in every single aspect. That play on the first goal where he laid it off, it was just beautiful football. It was some of the best football I've ever seen, especially in the last year. I mean, it was fantastic, and I've been watching Inter Miami for a long time, so it's not hard to beat. But it was fantastic, and for him to score the second goal, it just put the cherry on top. He was phenomenal, and there's really nothing you can do about it. It's just class at its finest. I do feel for Denmark a little bit, obviously having to play 90 minutes after the very scary occurrence with Eriksen, and thank God he's okay. But 90 minutes after, they get the 1-0 result in a loss to Finland, which a game they could have won, but obviously with the circumstances, you're not going to blame them for it. And then having to come back and play Belgium, it's been tough. And I'm hoping they can get that third place, top 4 finish of the 6 teams, but it's going to be tough for them. But I am rooting for them just because of all the circumstances. And they did put on a nice brand of football today. So I'm rooting for them in the next match.
So I want to get your take on something then, Roberto's as well. So Austin, so far, because obviously Jerry and I are a little bit biased. We have Azzurri colored glasses. So out of the teams you watch in Euros so far, and obviously the Azzurri have been really impressive. Belgium are the number 1 ranked team in the world by FIFA. They have gotten 2 victories, maybe a little bit shaky at the start today. It's to be understood, though, given Denmark's form. So what team has impressed you most so far in the Euros, Austin?
It's Italy. I'll give it to you. It's Italy. I mean, 2-3-0 wins. They've been playing really well. No other team. I mean, France looked good against Germany, but it wasn't like a very pleasing performance because Germany looked good at times as well. I won't tell Kai that when he comes on. But there are a couple other teams that I was kind of high on. I was one of the ones that was like, all right, I'm going to root for Turkey. I think that they could have a good team, not to win the Euros, but a lot of people have let me down. I think England didn't have a great performance against Croatia. Croatia obviously didn't have a good performance. So there's a couple of these top teams that aren't there, but Italy is living up to the hype and more. So I'll give it to you. Italy have been the best team.
Yeah, Croatia to me, it just they look like their legs are still tired from the World Cup final 3 years ago. And it's so many of the same players who have so much more mileage and are so much older. It's kind of you can say it's not the same Croatia team from 3 years ago, but it kind of is, and that's the problem. Like there's not enough of a new injection of life into that team.
It's like everybody but Mario Mandzukic at that point. I think it's basically the same team, but yeah, they've that took a toll out of them. That was their quote unquote golden generation for like a year, and then now I think it's just past that, and I don't know if they'll ever really recover.
Yeah, so Roberto, I want to get your take on the Belgium-Denmark game this morning, and what team has impressed you most so far in the Euros?
Well, yeah, going back to that game, and also, first of all, thank you for having me on this. Appreciate it, honestly. I think, yeah, kind of like what everyone is in agreement with. I think certainly this was a game that I think Denmark came in with a lot of motivation. I think certainly they wanted to get into this game, obviously, to do well in this competition. But now with what happened with Eriksen, and of course we're very thankful that he is alive and doing well. But it provides a bit of motivation. I think certainly. Given the circumstances that they had to play through in the first game against Finland, perhaps that their heads weren't in properly, that they perhaps weren't in the right shape. Now go into this game against Belgium, obviously a tougher opponent. Certainly there is a different sort of idea, and they had a really good start, as you said, with the Poulsen goal. But then Belgium, as we all talked about as one of the favorites, the number one ranked team in the world at the moment, they showed their quality. I think they showed their quality as to why, they're out there to contend. They're out there to really go for a title that this golden generation needs. They missed it out in the World Cup 3 years ago. They were so close, and now they're trying to now literally look at the final options of them getting some sort of silverware. And I think I'm going to have to agree with all of us here. I think certainly Italy were the most impressive out of all of them so far. I mean, obviously, when you win both games, okay, yes, Turkey and Switzerland, I'm not really of that kind of notion of like, oh, they're just regular teams. I think they are good on its day. It's just Italy were just better when it came to those two games. I mean, obviously not conceding any goals yet. Mancini's obviously a really great manager, as we probably all agree on. They have good players on all ends. As opposed to like the other teams like France that, okay, I think they're still probably the favorites to win it to maybe a lot of us, but maybe it wasn't as convincing. Okay, it was Germany, but still you would think that they'd perhaps be much more convincing. Portugal, I mean, yes, they did beat Hungary 3-0 on the day, but they weren't really as convincing as we would say for them to really break down Hungary until late on. England is England, as we like to say. The Dutch, even them, you don't know what to expect from them, especially defensively. Okay, they improved today, but yeah, I think if we have to judge it between one team, and I'll say France are still the favorites right now, at least in my book, to win it. I think Italy are up there. I think Italy are still, I don't understand this notion of them being a dark horse before that. Like, no, absolutely not. I think they have the quality on all levels, from on the pitch and off the pitch as well, to really go for this European Championship.
Yeah, I want to go ahead, Jerry.
I want to add something, and I saw a tweet today. I'm not going to say names because I respect our colleague, so I'm not going to pull a plug on him. But I saw that Denmark deserved better, and that they've been one of the best teams, and they should have 6 points right now. I don't agree with this notion personally. The first game to me should just never have been played in the first place.
Yeah.
Neither team, I don't care if there were 25 shots apparently in Denmark had chances. It doesn't mean nothing to me. Shots mean nothing if you can't hit the target. Neither team were really in the game. So you can't really say that Denmark deserved those 3 points. Today, they didn't deserve the 3 points. I'll tell you why. They only played for 45 minutes. It was an inspiring performance. Absolutely agree. But you had the 1-0 lead into the second half. You didn't protect it. You made 2 costly mistakes, and it hurt you. So at the end of the day, to me, it's 6 points that they don't deserve right now. They still have a chance to make it to the next round, but to feel bad because of what happened, I get that to a certain degree. But to say that they deserve to be in the next round right now, they have the 6 point, I don't buy that, man. They held their own destiny today, and
yeah,
I honestly thought Simon Kjær was originally got beaten by Lukaku. I was wrong, and I got destroyed on social media for that. But like
by all the Milan fans, you got
by all the Milan fans. I was like, oh my god, like relax. It's Simon Kjær. I didn't see his shit or anything. Like it's not like I disrespected the guy, but like I thought Lukaku kind of had him a lot of the game ahead of him. I know I give credit to Kjær. He made a good sliding challenge. A little fortunate because it kind of redirected towards him and he kind of misstepped it, Lukaku. But 2 goals, 2 mistakes, and like Denmark didn't defend when they had to. Like they didn't bury that second goal. I love to hear what you guys think, but I just don't. I don't think that you should ever feel bad for a team. They deserve it. No one deserves anything. You earn for what you get. If you are the better team, you deserved it. If you didn't win it, you didn't deserve it. That's just the way I look at it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
no. Listen, I mean, Jerry, to that effect, Denmark, for understandable reasons, has become maybe the most likable team in world football right now, given what they're going through. Given the way and so much credit to Simon Kjaer, who basically saved Christian Eriksen's life. Like I can't say for sure whether he's still alive right now, if not for the way Kjaer responded, and of course the first responders and the doctors that came out and literally shocked his heart back to life with a defibrillator. So it's remarkable, and I can't imagine what it's like emotionally to be a teammate of his. I'm sure most of them are close personal friends with him, and to have had to continue that match. And listen, I know people had arguments about it. Was it the right thing to do because they video chatted with Eriksen and he reportedly gave his consent to play? At the same time, I thought it could have been really classy by UEFA to just say, you know what, like it's just not right. I mean, I don't. What was it, like an hour, 90 minutes? They suspended it before they resumed it. It didn't make any sense. No, whether or not Eriksen gave his consent, I just don't think it was right to continue that match. So yeah, I completely understand why, myself included, the entire world is rallying around this Danish team, and they've become lovable and very easy to root for. At the same time, Jerry, what you said is 100% right. The pitch doesn't lie. Obviously you can't, you're not giving out free points and free wins for the circumstances. It is what it is. I don't think that the Finland game should have been finished, so it's hard to really look at that result. But as far as their result today against Belgium, yeah, they were flying early. They outplayed the Belgians, and then Belgium just had more quality. They had more depth because they can bring on a guy like De Bruyne from the bench and really help change the game. Lukaku was instrumental in both of those goals, by the way. I thought he had an excellent second half. And so it is what it is. You can't give out pity points to Denmark, even if they become a team that obviously has really become easy to rally around. And I want to get more into that, but I want to get thoughts on this from Austin and Roberto. First, Roberto, I'll start with you. As far as Jerry's point, and listen, every time Denmark plays now, I root for these guys, and I'm a big Christian Eriksen fan to begin with, of course. So this has really been a hard thing to watch unfold. But yeah, I mean, listen, you can't say on the pitch they deserved better today. They got beaten fair and square.
Yeah, and I'm with you as well, and I think the rest of the world likes to see Denmark as their second team, but unfortunately, in life and in society, I think we don't have time for pity parties anymore. I think we just have to move on. And yes, it was fantastic that Simon Kjaer was able to save his life, and that those things happen. But at the end of the day, these guys are professionals. They're there to do a job, and they're there to go and win games and to perform into the highest level. And just on the day, Belgium were just superior, and they had every right to beat them 100%. I don't think there's much more to add, honestly. Yeah. Besides that,
Austin, I'll give you the last word on that.
I want to just piggyback for both of you. Is Kevin De Bruyne the best midfielder in the world? Like,
yes.
I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, definitely. I 100%.
Wow, man.
Yeah, no, he completely changed the. Wait, let's say hello to Kai, because
Kai'Chien Chisholm is in the building.
What did you call him?
You had to sneak in that Florida Gators banner back there.
Yes,
how you doing, Kai?
Well, I'm a recovering Germany soccer fan, so I'm doing okay. I'm trying to get by.
We will get into that. We were just talking, Kai, about about Denmark. Obviously, it's become the second team of most football fans right now. With what that entire locker room has had to go through, what that country has had to go through with what happened to Christian Eriksen. But in that matchup today against Belgium, Denmark were absolutely flying in the first half. They got the quick opening goal, and I was concerned that there would be an adrenaline dump, and I think you saw a little bit of that in the second half. And then Belgium's depth and quality just really made the difference. But so something that Jerry brought up, which was a fair point, is a lot of people are saying, Denmark have deserved more. They could have 6 points and 2 victories. Now, the game against Finland, I mentioned, I don't know what to do with that, because they should have never finished that game the same day. Like that should have been suspended to finish at a later time. But as far as the Belgium game this morning, the pitch doesn't lie. I mean, Belgium got 3 deserved points today. Well, what do you think about all that and the situation with Denmark?
Well, I was going to ask if we had talked about, kind of that specific thing, starting that game when it happened. And I kind of wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were, because I know personally, I feel like there were 2 sides to it. Like, there were some people who were saying, okay, well, if they want to restart the game, if they want to keep going, then allow them. And then I know there's the other side where it's kind of like, yeah, but at the same time, in a situation like that, the thing that I came away with, just quickly to kind of talk, like with the Eriksen collapse, and I tweeted it out as well, is there was now the name is leaving my mind. Abdelhak Nouri, who was just like, he was a player for Ajax, and he had fallen and collapsed in a friendly game against Werder Bremen, and this was in 2017, something like that. And he's really not that functioning right now. That's kind of the first thing I thought of when that happened with Christian Eriksen, and I think we have to give like a great applause to kind of the actual response, so that he can actually be there and be with us now and not have to suffer anything worse. But I kind of wanted to ask that thought, because I'm one that kind of was in the situation, like, I don't even know if that game should have been restarted. I mean, in the way that it was, in the fashion that it was, maybe you just play it another day, because I just feel like with everything that happens, and even with the players, sometimes you have to stop someone from something they don't already know yet. Obviously now it's okay, and it is how it is, but I feel like sometimes you have to kind of take a pause and realize that, there are real life implications to everything, and you don't want to trot out, even if they say they want to play, you don't want to trot out players back into the field after something like that.
I agree 100%. And we're just about to get into that. I think Kai is a psychic, because we were literally just getting into that topic when he hopped in. Austin, your take, should they have even finished that game?
No, I don't think so. But also, I think, well, it's on UEFA. I think at that point, I doubt the 11 men that were on the field for Denmark wanted to continue to play despite Eriksen's consent. Maybe, sure, some of them did. But at the end of the day, the whole psyche of the team could not have been in that stadium. There's no way anybody was thinking really about the game within those 90 minutes of delay. It's all about Eriksen, your teammate. Some people will call him his brother. I mean, there are, and I know the AC Milan defender, Kai'Chien, however you pronounce it. I mean, him.
I don't think anyone actually knows how to say it. I say it different every time. Like, and even Serie A commentators, when he first got on Milan, they were saying Kjaer, and then I hear Kjaer. I don't know. I think I have to call his relatives or something to figure out how they say it.
Well, we should give him a call. But actually, speaking of relatives, him going over to Eriksen's relatives that were at the game, his family, and there's you won't be able to convince me that this was a good decision to restart this game within 90 minutes of the incident happening. It should not have been played. There could have been a time, surely, for them to figure it out. There are bigger matters at hand, and I don't know if they were worrying about the tournament scheduling or how the group stage would finish, where they would play the game, things like that. But I think that there was a better way to go about this, and I don't know what kind of position Denmark was put in from the federation. What did UEFA tell them in terms of them not walking onto the fields? What would have been the consequences and things like that? And so it's a very tough situation, and I just wish that there was some clarity to it, and I also wish that UEFA didn't really force Denmark's hand and make them play this game, because like Jerry said, yes, the result wasn't there. They didn't, deserve to win on the day, because they did not win. But at the same time, if you give them a fresh however many minutes, to go on a different day when things are recovered, we know exactly what Christian Eriksen's state is out of the hospital, things like that. Maybe they beat Finland. It depends on the team on the day. So I'm not going to say that Denmark have deserved 6 points. They haven't. They've lost both games. But at the same time, you never know what could happen if they were not forced to play 90 minutes after the potential tragic accident with Christian Eriksen.
Roberto, I'll give you the last word on this one. How did you think that situation was handled on Saturday?
I mean, I can't really say much as to what's happening behind the scenes. I think certainly there must have been
Neymar. God damn it.
There must have been a certain different situation in regards to something like this. But yeah, I agree. I think it could have been handled much more better. I think certainly, we don't know what these players are going through, especially with something like this. But, if we believe the reports and say that they were only given a few options, it just seems a bit off, I would say. It doesn't seem right. And I think there should have been much more clarity and definitely much more of a path for them to actually try to restart this game in some sort of manner.
By the way, I'll give you guys the latest on Eriksen as of today. And actually, first, I'll say I thought the scenes today, the way that both sides handled the tributes, I thought was really, really well done. Seeing some of the responses to it made me really lose faith in humanity, maybe a small percentage of humanity, because in some of the tweets kind of showing the tributes, at the 10th minute to honor his number, you had some so-called football fans like, oh, what, the guy didn't die? What are we doing? It's like, come on, dude. I mean, this was one of the most frightening on the pitch incidents I've ever seen. You're talking about a 29-year-old with kids and a family. Like I don't know how to make some people happy, but I really thought the way that Belgium and Denmark handled it, I thought was really incredible today. And I tip my cap to the Belgian side, obviously, for really handling it with grace. And I know Romelu Lukaku is very close with Eriksen, their teammates together on Inter. And I thought he's been really respectful, with the way he's handled all this. So I thought that was really great. As far as Eriksen's condition, obviously this is a point where it would be even irresponsible to speculate his footballing future. We're worried about his quality of life. At this point, he's been fitted with what they call an ICD, an implantable cardioverter defibrillator. It's quote necessary due to rhythmic disturbances, Danish team doctor Morten Bosen said today. He remains in the hospital, but he does say, and he's been pretty active, Eriksen, chatting with folks and letting people know he's okay, which is great. They say he is fine under the circumstances. So he's going to have now a device in his chest, perhaps for the rest of his life, that will detect these rhythmic disturbances and provide electric shock if need be, to make sure something like what happened on Saturday doesn't happen again. Which is it's at the same time it's frightening, but it's also kind of comforting to know that technology like that exists these days. I mean, what a time to be alive! And I was reading about an account today about the way that things unfolded on the pitch after he was literally brought back to life. And one of the first things he said to the doctor on the field was, "Damn, I'm only 29," which is incredibly deep. And it's also pretty impressive that he was so lucid at that moment. Like, he had a full understanding of what was going on. Like, if I had a condition when I was younger where I had some unexplained fainting spells when I was a teenager, nothing that severe, not cardiac arrest or anything, but I can remember like regaining consciousness, and I did not have the clarity to even put together a thought like he was able to put together. But to say, damn, I'm only 29, it really goes to show you like the understanding he had of the severity of what happened. And just, God bless him. God bless his family and his teammates, and, everyone who's been with him and is going to help him now get better. It's just an incredible thing to see. I'm sure that many discussions have been had about the TV coverage and the way the media covered it, which was a little bit gross. I don't know if we have to spend too much time on that, because we're 4 days removed, and quite frankly, it would make my stomach turn to go over all of that. So I want to flip the page into more comforting things. Although this may not be very comforting.
I got something to ask for Kai.
Yeah.
Yo, Kai, you know what my favorite Germany game was or is?
Uh-oh.
What?
2006, baby. Extra time. Del Piero. World Cup,
Kai, how old were you in 2006?
Woo!
In 2006? 8? Yeah.
Oh,
8.
wow.
Oh, you're still virgin.
At 8 years old, I would hope so. God damn it.
Listen, all I can say is that what is even better than that, and I know it's not a dig at anyone here, at least I don't believe it's a dig at anyone here, is that we still kept Messi from winning a World Cup, and that's all that matters to me. So I'm good.
I think Roberto,
I love Messi, man.
Is that a dig?
I love Messi. Messi's
That is
gone.
a dig at Jerry. For sure.
Messi's gone, man. I'll never forget that game. That was bad. What was it? What was the score again? Wasn't it a beatdown?
Which one?
Germany
Messi
versus
one?
Georgia. Yeah, wasn't it
No,
bad?
that was Götze, 113th minute,
Okay.
Yeah.
off the chest into the goal.
Roberto, you a big Messi fan too?
I do appreciate Lionel Messi. Yes, that's right.
Fucking
Yikes.
best player of our. I don't think he's the best player of all time. I think he's the best player of our time. That's how I look at it. I think there are better players overall throughout like football in general.
Jerry, who's the best player ever? Don't say Ciro Immobile.
No, I wish. In my time, yes. In
Maradona.
my time, yes. Maradona, yes. I never got to watch Maradona, but I read about him. That's how I respect him.
You watched the documentary on HBO? It's
No,
incredible.
not yet.
You got to watch that.
I
I've been
haven't watched
reading.
that either. It's on my wish list
It's so good, dude. You have to watch that
or
guy.
watch list. But yeah,
You know who I appreciate a lot too? I started reading about Johan Cruyff. Man, that guy there and the way he thought about football and these guys, these are the guys who I like to read about because total football, utilizing space, movement, understanding like not using 6 guys in a backfield. Like Johan Cruyff was all about like getting the best out of your players. I forgot who the other Dutch guy who didn't like, and he was at Ajax as well. I forgot his name. Maybe Roberto might know. He's another like big legend back in the 90s.
Van Basten?
Van Basten.
Oh, yeah.
He
You
always
can say him or Gullit.
well they both believe in total like the whole total football, but like one believed like Cruyff always believed in using his best players and utilizing them, whereas Van Basten was all about using 11 players and getting the best out of everyone, and they all had to contribute. But it was good philosophy, and those are the guys who I always look at as to why Mourinho was so good today, why Conte can adapt on football. Those are the guys who instilled the ideas and allowed football to grow so much. I think a lot of people forget what the guys did in the 90s. And another thing is that football wasn't the same like it is now, where technology has allowed these guys to play at another level. And sports in the 90s, not just football, soccer, even North American sports as hockey, basketball, baseball, like it was just a different sport where you didn't cork the bat. You used a hockey you used a hockey stick that was woody, not freaking Ben 5 and Flex 95 and all that. And like these guys played in a different era where they weren't allowed to like have enhanced stuff to allow them to be better. They were just naturally gifted for how they played the game. And a lot of people forget about that, I find personally.
When I also thought like I can't really speak for a guy like Pele. I only know the legends. I'm not old enough to appreciate his game, but I am old enough to appreciate Maradona's game. And like I thought that football in like the 80s and the early 90s, it relied a lot more on individual brilliance. Like you saw a lot less of the one touch. You saw a lot less just real pure tactics by managers. I mean, as far as like tactics, I remember watching a lot of the Italian game growing up. The tactic was mostly catenaccio. It was like, park the bus and counterattack. There wasn't like a whole lot in possession. And watching a guy like Maradona was just unfreaking believable, the way that guy was able to be just such a maestro on the pitch. But I did want to bring in Kai to talk a little bit of Deutschland. Listen, it was one result. There's really, on the score sheet, there's really no shame in a 1-0 loss to France, but it was not an inspired performance, my friend.
So I had an argument with one of the guys in Lemon City. Shout out to Achilles, because maybe it's just me, but even when the people I was watching with had agreed with me, but I don't know, maybe it's just us. But for the panel of everyone here, did you think, if you watched the game, that France was showing that they're a dominant side?
No, I said that when you asked me who the best team was before Kai got on. I said in that France-Germany game, France were not fully convincing. I mean, yes, Germany got bailed out by a couple of offside calls. I mean, yes, they were offsides, but barely.
That's illegal in the game. What are you talking about?
But
listen, Austin.
The game could have very easily been 3-0 if it weren't for a couple centimeters. Could have been. So, and I'm not going to say Germany played better than France, but I'm going to say France did not play as well as anybody was really expecting. I can say that, sure, but Germany have ways to go, and they'll struggle against Portugal.
I'm neutral.
that
I don't
group
watch
is
the game.
that group is not even fair.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's ridiculous.
So this is the only thing I had, because the thing that I continue to see, and I guess it's also another dig at certain things in media, and why I was arguing with Achilles, is like that game. I don't think it was as bad as it like looked actually watching it, and I think there's a lot of things that you saw that Joachim Löw has brought to the team recently that is actually good compared to what he's been showing since the 2018 collapse. But I looked at that game when I was watching it. I was like, first of all, France does not look like a dominant team, because they should be running. I mean, the game without offsides, goals, or whatever should have been 3 or 4 zip. Like it should have. That Germany was making a lot of mistakes, even while holding possession. They couldn't do anything in the final third at all. I mean, they just could not put together anything, any string of anything. Like France just was not looking like a dominant team. I think there's a lot there that for Germany was also not in their favor. But in terms of just like the German national team, and just to answer the question before it comes, listen, man, Hansi Flick, Don Flick, the greatest manager right now currently, because he still holds the award until another one's given out. He'll come in, he'll save us here soon. But there's a lot of issues right now. I mean, I know you guys that, Lazio, Inter Milan, you guys will know, at least in terms of Serie A, it's like there's only one player in Germany's roster, one player that naturally runs a back three in their club system, and that is Robin Gosens. That's the only player. Yet Joachim Löw insists on running a back three. Playing Joshua Kimmich at right wing back, which was uninspiring to say the least. Having Gosens there, who had a horrible game, and then having the midfield of Toni Kroos and Ilkay Gundogan, which was not great at all. Now, Leon Goretzka is injured, but I think that anyone looking at this Germany team, you would say if you have Leon Goretzka and Joshua Kimmich healthy, you have the double pivot with them in the midfield. You were going to say the only other chance you would have, and not having Kimmich at right wing back, would bring in Lucas Klosterman. Now, he's out for the rest of the tournament with a muscle injury. Everything looks horrible. I mean, it's going to go to the point where we're going to do exactly what Hansi Flick did and play Niklas Sula at right back. And then that's just going to be another whole situation. It's just, at this point, I think with the Germany team in general, I think there's been a lot of missteps the past few years. And one of the biggest ones, even though I know he was useful in the U21 tournament that Germany won, I know it's U21, but we did win. Even though he was useful. Even though he was useful, I mean, bringing a guy like Riddle Baku on this team who had a great season in the Bundesliga and having him play his natural role of right wing back in the back three that you're insisting on playing would have made a lot more sense than bringing in guys who are never going to see the field, or an Emre Can who you do not need at all, midfielder converted to center back. I want them to get past the group. I think they'll get past the group stage. To be perfectly honest, still, I think they will get past the group stage, and then they'll just get embarrassed by whatever team they face in the last of 16.
I did not watch this game yesterday. I was too busy getting the vaccination during this game, and I was at work. But
it's all right now. I know it hit you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, I'm going back to work tomorrow, unfortunately. But I don't. You know your shit more than I do, because I don't know too much about Germany. I don't really put a lot of emphasis on a lot of these teams. Now. But what it sounds like is it's a team that's not playing their positions.
So their strengths.
It's a back three that you got players who don't suit a back three. So I've seen this before at Lazio, where we've used Dennis Vavro in a back three, came from the Danish league and failed miserably. And it's not his fault, because he's performed in a back four. Yeah. And I think it's different for forwards and midfielders to play out of position, because they're not as vulnerable, I find. In a back four, back three, it really makes a difference. It honestly makes a difference. If you're transitioning from a center back to a fullback and you're playing out wide, it can really affect you, because you don't know how to attack as well. It's just me, though. I think
the smart thing for them to do would be to play one. I feel like you should play to the form of some of your players. I mean, one of the biggest things is Christian Gunter had a fantastic season with Freiburg playing at left back, and he was able to make the German national team for the first time in years. In years, he hasn't been on one of the national team squads. Play to the form that he's had, play to his strengths. You have the partnership of Mats Hummels and Antonio Rudiger, who's coming off of great form himself. Play them together. Mats Hummels was one of the best center backs in the Bundesliga all season. If you have to play Kimmich at right back, that's fine, but don't put him out there in right wing back where he's not going to be fit to where you want him to be. If you're going to stick him at right back, if you absolutely have to do it, fine. That's perfectly fine. But don't put him into an uncomfortable position where you're going to have this guy who is, in my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's Bayern bias, maybe it's Germany bias, I think is one of the best midfielders in the world. You're going to have him playing out of position at right wing back when you could have him in there with Toni Kroos. And Niklas Sula, look, he wasn't horrible at right back this season for Bayern. There were times where he was okay. I would rather have him playing at right back in a back four with Antonio Rudiger, Mats Hummels, and Gunter on the left side there than have these guys playing out of position and having mistakes like we almost saw multiple times against France happen again, because he's going to go out there with the back three against Portugal, and it's going to happen again.
Hold on, let's get Roberto's word. We haven't heard from Roberto for a while.
Deutschland.
What's that?
Deutschland.
Yeah.
They're a funny team, aren't they? They really are. I mean, I think, yes, it was quite, I mean, getting the hardest team off the bat on that group was always going to be difficult for any team, and certainly for this side. They've kind of, I don't want to say they fell flat on their face ever since the World Cup, but you kind of see that they need to. Okay, fine. All right, Kyle, I'll take your word. Why not? Having said that, I think they definitely need to view this tournament as a way of like demonstrating where they are at the moment. I think we'll assume that they will qualify for the World Cup and go from there. But I think they do definitely need to fix the pieces that are there that perhaps are not needed anymore, and try to build your team around, and that's Germany. Like they have the history in these tournaments. This is not a team that is full of scrubs. Nevertheless, I think they just have to go through a different type of transition era like many teams do, and Germany have the capability and the talent to do that. So I think it's just that, really. I think they're still a talented team on its day, and hopefully that they can get out of the group, and depending on who they get into the knockout stage, will also be able to determine how good they are. But I still see a talented side of players, just the way that they're being utilized and how they're set up. And I think once someone like Hansi Flick comes in, which I think is really kind of the brainchild of the Germany squad that won the World Cup, I think that is where we will see a different Germany side, and certainly it will be removing everything that, not everything, but certainly what Joachim Low has been doing in the last few years. It's time to really just change the chip in the way of how they perform and how they are set up on the pitch.
Austin, I know you're going to say something. That's
yeah, I wanted to ask Kai a question. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'll take the heat for it, but Pogba was the best performance on the day for France, in my opinion. I think he dominated the midfield.
How are you going to take? That's true. What do you?
Okay, I'm good. I'm glad. I didn't want anybody. I didn't want anybody to be like, "Oh, Man United bias." If you guys didn't know, I'm a huge United fan.
Right.
Okay, so Pogba had the best performance.
I think should win Ballon d'Or after half of a good season. No.
So if we transition over to, and I think a lot of the reason why he was the best performer on the day is because the Kroos Gundogan midfield with no other third central midfielder was not good enough. And if you go into this Portugal game where one of their strengths are in the midfield, whether it's maybe Renato Sanchez gets to start, you have Danilo Pereira who played well, and obviously the one and only Bruno Fernandes, another person that could really hurt a two-man midfield of Kroos and Gundogan controlling the game. Is, you just said Joachim Löw won't change it, but if you were to run with a three-man midfield and you needed to put Kimmich at right back, who plays next to Gundogan and Toni Kroos?
I don't even think right now. The only option you could possibly have is Florian Neuhaus, and that's it. Like that's really the only, because unless Leon Goretzka, and he came out today and said he's not going to start on Saturday no matter what. So if he's not healthy, he's not going to start. But he said he's going to utilize him, but he's not going to start. So if Leon Goretzka is going to be utilized, but he's not going to start, the only other person that you can give is Florian Neuhaus. You're not putting, as much as I love Jamal Musiala, as much as I think that he's going to be great in the future, like Florian Wirtz, who was there with the U21s, you're not putting him out there right now. Jonas Hoffman, if he was, healthy, you're not putting him out there right now. There's just, there's no one. I don't think that Ilkay Gundogan should be starting in the first place, and neither do I think Toni Kroos. I think it should be Leon Goretzka again if he was healthy.
Well, Gundogan came off a very good season with City. I must say.
I think that your best midfield pairing right now for Germany is Goretzka and Kimmich. Like that's just what it is right now. I think for those two in the midfield, and then you have to just add another player to that. But the only other player you can have is Florian Neuhaus, and then he'd have to have the guts to start him. Like that's just the biggest thing is you have to go out there and you put him there, and he's had a good run of form. Even with Gladbach being as poor as they were under Marco Rose after he was announced to take over Dortmund at the end of the season, he was still in good form. Like that's really the only other player that you're going to go out there and put out, because Emre Can, you're not going to put him out there, even though he's a center back, midfield, or whatever the hell they have him playing. And he's still just going to run the back three, which is going to.
So basically, just get ready for a Bruno Fernandes masterclass.
I think that I still think personally that everyone having a lot of doubts in Germany is flawed. I don't think that you should ever count out Germany in any other thing. And I think we saw the fact that they were able to, and again, France were the better team, but they did not look like a great team. And I think there were a lot of things that they did, the German team, that helped stop a lot of that. I think Pogba, if he didn't have the masterclass game that he had, who knows if we even see it. And by the way, because I got into an argument with someone about this, and I know this is my Bayern bias and it has nothing to do with Germany, it has something to do with France. There was someone that used to follow me who unfollowed me, by the way, that was trying to tell me that Luca Hernandez was god awful and a waste of a transfer. Well, Luca Hernandez stopped multiple attacks by himself for Germany in that game on Tuesday, and if not for Pogba, in my opinion, could have had man of the match.
Before I allow Jerry and I to flex a little bit about Italy's 3-0 against Switzerland yesterday, I want to get tournament predictions from our guests. Now, Jerry and I have already been on record multiple times. I've changed my pick multiple times. I mean, full disclosure, my pick before the tournament started was France. My pick as to how far the Azzurri would go was quarterfinal, and I even said semifinal would be the absolute ceiling, probably a quarterfinal exit. Jerry, I was so inspired by the scenes in Woodbridge, Ontario, Canada. I've been so inspired by a pair of 3-goal wins to start the tournament. I am now lock, stock, and barrel on the Roberto Mancini train. So I have changed my Euro prediction. I reserve the right to change it probably every day until the tournament is over. But I want to go, and I know Jerry's picking Italy because he was steadfast on that on the start. But I want to get picks from, I'll start with Roberto, then Austin, and then Kai. Roberto Rojas, who do you think is going all the way in this tournament?
Well, I picked France as the winner before this. I'd actually put in my bracket that Italy and France will meet in the semifinals. And I think the winner of that game will win the Euros, no matter who they face. So I'm still going for Les Bleus on this one.
Fair enough, Austin.
It's weird because depending on how the groups line up, especially that group of death, you don't know where France is going to. If France finished second, then they're in, the bottom half where Portugal could be if they finish second. So my pre-bracket prediction was France and Portugal in the final, with France winning, and I don't think I'm going to shy away from that. I think I'm still okay with that. Italy, they'd have a tough, run of play in that top half of the bracket. If they were to move on top of the group, they'd have to face Belgium at some point and France. So there's a couple of tough games there in the knockouts, quarterfinals, semifinal, and the like. But I would say France win it in against Portugal in a final.
What do you think, Kai?
I think that Italy wins it.
Oh, my dude!
Yeah. At the start of the tournament, I thought it was going to be France, and I thought that France was going to absolutely embarrass Germany on Tuesday. After watching their performance, regardless of the Pogba masterclass, I don't think that they have it. I don't think they're going to win it at all. I think that it's going to be Italy, especially considering the run of form.
Yeah, we have a lot, Jerry, to unpack, not only from the Switzerland game, now that we have two games.
I love Kai's last words, That's why I chose Italy going into this tournament. The run of form going into this tournament. That's why I never doubted Italy. And people say that they beat schmucks, they beat this team, they beat that team. They're not beating big teams. It doesn't matter.
They make them look like schmucks.
You're going into a tournament. Yeah, you're going into a tournament with proper form. You don't want to go into this tournament losing 7 games from like World Cups to Euro qualifying to like friendlies.
Like Germany.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Can I make a comment on that actually? Because the run of form thing. I remember when I thought about it as Italy were coming in, I was like, yeah, that's cool, but Germany wasn't a great run of form before the 2018 World Cup. But I remembered that even in their great run of form, he brought in Joachim Löw. He left out a lot of players that were part of that run of form from that final 2018 roster and didn't bring them on with them towards the World Cup, and that's a lot of what kind of did not help their case.
Turkey were in a great run of form leading up to this tournament and
Yep.
absolutely shit the bed against both Italy and
So
then
was
now
Hungary.
against Wales. So I guess the quality teams in a run of form is good, but when you have one of these dark horses that are run of form, it doesn't matter as much, in my opinion. But when the quality shows like Italy has, and especially with the depth, that's something too that I've been very impressed by. Yeah, I can see them going all the way, but I'll stay with mine.
And here's the run of form that you guys are alluding to. It's now, and honestly, like I'm in disbelief when I look at it. 29 matches unbeaten, 10 straight victories, and in none of those 10 straight victories have they conceded a single goal. I mean, it's shocking. It truly is shocking. And obviously, the back line has been rock solid, even when you have a pair of senior citizens like Chiellini and Bonucci starting in the back. Chiellini did pick up a knock, though, after scoring a goal that was disallowed for a handball the other day. But they have depth at the center back position. There's no doubt about that. And Donnarumma, obviously, who's he's about to take his medicals for PSG. I hate to see him leave the Serie A. He didn't have to do very much against Switzerland. I think he was only called into action twice, but made a couple of beautiful saves in the second half around the hour mark to preserve the Azzurri lead. You talk about depth, midfield especially, to have to start this tournament without an important player like Verratti, to be able to plug in Manuel Locatelli, and you see the type of form he's in. I mean, ridiculous, especially the strike on that second goal he scored, the run he made in the first. It was really Berardi, though, who set it up with that beautiful run of play on the right side. It's just it's been beautiful to watch. And then one of the most important things, and this is where we can allow Jerry to flex a little bit, Ciro Immobile scoring consistently. So he's got a goal in each of these two games to start the Euro. It's been 4 straight matches for him going back to the previous international break where he has scored. That's always been the issue for Ciro, at least anecdotally. The issue for him has been scores goals for fun with Lazio. When he puts on the Azzurri shirt, though, you don't necessarily get goals. We've talked about the factors in the past about the formation he's playing in, where at Lazio he plays, in a strike partnership with a 3-5-2. And obviously that's going to change under Sarri, but that's what it's been for the last several years under Inzaghi. And he's in a 4-3-3 with the national team. Now we look at the form that Berardi has brought to the right wing, and that's really brought out some tremendous play under Ciro. It was an excellent goal from outside the box he scored to make it 3-0 the other day. With this Italian national team, but I think, Jerry, the thing that really strikes me about them, which makes them so dynamic, they have an answer for everything. I mean, there's a number of different ways they can beat you. They can be possession-based. They can hit you on the counter. They're not going to concede any goals. And I'll take it back to Immobile. Before this tournament started, I would always say that really the one question mark that I had about this Italian national team is, can they get consistent goal scoring from their number 9? We wondered if that would even matter, right? Because I know that some of the shows we've done talking Italy in recent episodes, I think it's our guy, I think it was either Jan or Dom. I think it was Dom who was it definitely was Dom who was saying that it may not even matter if Immobile is scoring or not, because they're getting so much from the midfield and so much from the wingers in terms of goal contributions. I mean, Insigne didn't have the best of games against Switzerland, but he was excellent against Turkey. He was in a great run of form going back to this past season's campaign against Napoli. We see the form Berardi is hitting, and you look at the Sassuolo boys. I mean, Berardi and Locatelli have been carrying this team so far. I like how Austin Robillard has the disco legs now. He is like an Italian discotheque. He's setting the tone for the Azzurri talk. But I mean, Jerry, to me, this Italian side has looked incredibly well-rounded, incredibly dangerous. Heading into this tournament, crazy enough, they had never, prior to the Turkey game, they had never scored more than 2 goals in a game in the Euro tournament, which is kind of shocking. And now they've already done it twice in the first 2 games of this tournament. So this is one of the most complete Azzurri sides I've seen since 2006. This may be the most complete. Now, obviously, Conte's Euro run 5 years ago, he got a lot out of a really shit roster. Let's be frank here. To make that quarterfinal run, this roster is a lot better, and we're seeing your namesake, Mr. Mancini, getting the most out of this group.
Well, yeah. Look, Immobile has been shit on, and I haven't tweeted this stat yet, which is ridiculously insane of how underrated he's been. And let me get it out right now because I saw somebody tweet this and I thought it was really good, and I want to tweet it out as well because it just showed to me how impressive he's been in quite some time. And if you give me 2 seconds, I will get this.
Well, and while you
here.
look for that, I'll say
Here.
that
So
he's also Jerry. He's also been really good off the ball because
absolutely
for Locatelli's second goal, you know, a run that Cheeto made in the box took two defenders away and opened up the opportunity for Locatelli to even take that shot.
he's so underrated. So in the Euros, 2 games, 2 goals. World Cup qualifiers, 3 matches, 2 goals. European qualifiers, 4 games, 3 goals. In his last 11 games as a starter for the national team, he has taken part in 13 goals with 8 goals and 5 assists. And yet people say he does not provide enough to this Italy squad. Why? Because he's not scoring 100 goals like Lukaku. Like, I don't understand what more do you want from the guy? Like, I think he's the most underrated striker in football. Like, without a doubt, nobody is more underrated than he is for what he is able to do. Not just for his club, but for nationally for Italy as well. And this is his first time. I said this on our pod earlier when we did with Dom and the guys, and I said the biggest thing is that Cheeto has always played in World Cup qualifiers, Euro qualifiers, but he's never got to play on the big stage. He's never played on the actual World Cup stage, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe he did in 2016. I don't remember. But
that would have been a Euro year.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, not the Euro year. The year before that. No,
2014. No, I
don't think so. So he's never really. I think this is that like the first goal against Turkey was his first international goal on big stage. So you're seeing what Cheeto can do at the highest level now, playing against some of the best teams, and he hasn't disappointed in 2 games. I don't see Belotti being the starter. Maybe Sunday against Wales just to give Immobile a break. That's even if Mancini thinks about breaking up this nucleus, this thing he has that it's working, because and that was the biggest question was does Mancini take out a lot of players to sub him off, to rest him, to change it up versus Switzerland? He didn't. He made one change and he stuck with the consistency. And I forgot who it was who was telling us, Alex. They were saying that I heard this on a pod, maybe it was with us, that if you start taking players out, it can really disrupt the chemistry of this team and how they perform going forward. And I think that Mancini is going to use his subs as subs going forward. You're going to see Chiesa being used sparingly for 25 minutes. You're going to see center backs come in maybe 20 minutes. I think Mancini has an idea now that he has to stick to the same 11 because they need to build that chemistry in the group stage in order to play well beyond after this.
Well, listen, it's been a fun tournament so far. We're only getting started. My only regret is we're going to wrap it up here. I think we're going to have to bring on Roberto Rojas again soon to talk more Copa America. We get so wrapped up.
Oh, hold on. No, wait, before we go, yeah, fuck you, man, fucking Euros. Fuck the Euros right now. Copa America, yes.
All right, let's get into it.
Man. Yeah, let's get into it.
I get too caught up in this fucking Immobile stuff, man. Excuse my language. But okay, Argentina, how far do you think they're gonna go? I really want to know your opinion because Messi choker. Guys, does he finally win his first Copa America, or does he shit the bed again?
He shits the bed again.
No, he's not going to win it.
Shits the bed again.
Really, eh?
Who wins it then, Roberto?
Who wins it? Brazil?
Hot take. Hot take. Brazil. There's no one in the continent right now that is as good as them. They just smashed Peru 4-0. You know, Neymar's on a different level at the moment. Even when they're not playing well in the first half, they will switch it up and suffocate those opponents. Yeah, this tournament it's a walk for Brazil, honestly. This is my honest opinion. I've seen all these teams, but this is Brazil's tournament to lose, honestly.
Can I pick your brains on Ecuador? Because I have some Ecuadorian heritage. My mom's from there, and I know they haven't been fantastic. They have had a couple of decent, World Cup qualifier games. They beat like Colombia like 6-2 or something like that not too long ago. They had just lost to Brazil recently. I don't know how far they're going to do. I'm surprised Ener Valencia is still playing. There's a couple of guys that I thought were going to get called up from MLS that didn't. Quick thoughts on Ecuador, just for my own personal sake.
I think they're a really talented side. They have a really good coach in Gustavo Alfaro. I think they're a side that are very counterattacking when need be. I think they have a very young side. A lot of those players had performed very well at U17 and U20 level. I think they have a really interesting generation. I don't think they have the capacity to win the Copa America yet. I think they can certainly, as we've seen in the World Cup qualifiers, have the opportunity to fight for it. But I think they definitely have the talent needed. And, it's a tough process. I'm not talking about the Copa America now. I think it's more focused on the World Cup qualifiers because I think that's the main objective for countries like Ecuador and so what. I think they just need to take advantage of getting all the results that they can get, especially at home when they're playing in altitude in Quito, for example. But yeah, they're a very talented team. I really rate them. I didn't expect them to be as good as they were, at least initially, but I think if they're able to be consistent with the players that they have, I really like someone like Ener Valencia, Moises Caicedo, the Brighton midfielder, very talented. I think they have the opportunity to really fight for those World Cup spots.
Funny story, actually. I was watching the game. I think it was Ecuador versus Colombia, right? On Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm watching this game, and I'm like, me and my wife were watching. I'm like, Caicedo's on. I'm like, Caicedo. Meanwhile, it wasn't even fucking Felipe Caicedo.
It was
I was like, what the heck? I said, I'm watching this game thinking that Felipe Caicedo was going to play. Guy had 9 goals for freaking Lazio. Doesn't even get the call up.
I don't think he got. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think he got called up.
How the heck did he not get called? The guy's been amazing 3 straight seasons for Lazio. Not even a call up. He would have been
a big club.
He would have been a good depth option, man. Honestly, somebody you call off the bench, maybe he can provide a goal. I don't know. Like, is there not enough talent for him to be on this squad? Is he not good enough? Do you think he should have been on Ecuador? I'm just curious. You're the Ecuador guy, eh? You got.
I don't follow it as closely as I should, and I know I have like the heritage in the background, but I'm more of a U.S. guy, as Donno and Kai know. I just
so annoying
US
with that
fanboy,
US.
US fanboy.
Oh, you're the
US
guy
fanboy.
repping freaking Christian Pulisic on the the side of the street, eh?
And that
that's
doesn't
me.
bother me much.
That's me.
It's when he reps Weston McKennie that gets under my skin.
Oh God, he's
which I
terrible.
love that guy, by the way. I love that guy.
Overrated, man.
Oh,
Guys,
come on.
overrated.
Wait till
Invite
Chris
me on
Richards
another
gets in
podcast
there,
later.
bro.
We'll talk
Overrated.
about West McKennie.
What's so great he did for Juventus this season?
He
What?
played better than like all their other midfielders.
Oh,
They
that's
weren't
not
good
fair.
at all.
Suspended.
But yeah,
That's
Better. Nothing's better on that midfield. They're all garbage. Arthur maybe was their best thing, and I thought he was going to be the worst, and he actually was panned out well until he got hurt.
Well,
He came out, and what happened?
Pirlo
Midfield was
couldn't
garbage
instruct
again.
anybody to do well, and I think that was part of it.
How can you?
That's part of
What
it,
are you?
for
What are you instructing though? A nucleus of garbage, man. That's what you're freaking garbage. I'm sorry, man. That is the worst Juventus team I've ever seen.
Hey,
Yeah, it was-
the best player in the world, I'm told, wore the number 7 for them.
Yeah, Ronaldo. There's another guy. Roberto, man, you're just giving me the death stare. You look like you're gonna rip my head off, man.
No, not at all. Don't give me the middle finger and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
I hate Ronaldo, man. I hate him. I think he's a good player, a great player,
Oh,
man.
for sure.
I will never
He's gonna get
disrespect.
bodied by Germany on Saturday.
Good. I hope he gets
Yeah.
drop kicked too, man. Freaking cleats to his face. But anyways,
Oh my god.
freaking, I hate him so much because he's such an arrogant person. I'm sorry, like guy like throws the Coke to the side.
I was gonna say, does anybody like Coca-Cola here? I love Coca-Cola.
I do
I work-
too, actually.
I don't
Yeah.
because I work for
Pepsi
Pepsi,
guy.
man. I work for Pepsi.
I
So
don't drink it, but it's
Oh, that's
fine.
right. Frito-Lay and Pepsi. I forgot they were
I'm
connected.
Pepsi. If I ever showed
man.
up if I showed up with a bottle of Coke to freaking like work, they call you the Reds because the Reds are Coca-Cola and the blue are Pepsi. So you're like called a certain color and like they don't like it, man. If you drink something water of them or anything like that. So yeah, they're very like I don't know. They say it's like Democratic versus liberals or something. It's so stupid. But like overall, man, guys, Ronaldo is a good player, but I just think Messi's such a more classier person. I don't know. I'm a little biased. I'll be honest. I'm biased when it comes to Messi. I just love the guy.
They're both divas in
2026.
different ways, though, because like Ronaldo is
I don't
more
know.
of an extroverted diva. Messi is more manipulative. Like he's gonna like be behind the scenes, like tearing clubs apart and manipulating. Where Ronaldo does everything out front. I think they're kind of the same. They do it a different way.
I don't. I'm not part. I don't go crying because someone said Messi sucked. I don't give a shit. Like it doesn't hurt me, and it doesn't bother me. Like people think I'm an Immobile fan club, and I'm disheartened because
No,
It's
I'll
okay.
be
I'm a
honest.
Thomas Muller fan club, dude. You just
That's
gotta wear
right.
the
Love
tie.
him.
Look, I got the
Love-
jersey up there. Like,
yeah.
come
Love
on,
him.
man. Just gotta
Love
wear it
Thomas
with pride.
Muller, man. Amazing, consistent player, man. Top notch. With Immobile, I get really offended when Italians kind of like when it's Italy versus Portugal or something, and they rally against him, and it's like, bro, you are Italian. You support your national team to the fullest, because I believe in negative vibes. If you cast on bad shit on your team, they feel it, man. It gets to them psychologically. It's not like they don't think about this stuff. That's just me personally. I think that it does affect a player outcome and how they play and everything. Thomas Muller, I agree. Miroslav Klose, that guy is the best German of all time, I think, man. That guy was amazing for Lazio.
I mean, well, Gerd Muller,
Wow.
but yeah,
Klose is wow. Klose had a banger in him, man. You needed a goal late, man. He had it. Like that guy there was something special.
Do
to
you
watch.
guys have any like super random players that you stand for that aren't like necessarily world class? Because Jerry knows this. I am a huge Gervinho fanboy. Like I freaking love Gervinho.
I have one actually.
You have one?
Hakan Çalhanoğlu.
Oh my
That's-
god, that would
that's
get out
mine.
of that garbage.
I'm sorry that it's an AC Milan player, but it was
No,
before
dude, I don't care what team he plays for. I just think the guy sucks.
I think
So
he's
bad.
He was really good for Leverkusen and before that too. He had a free kick in him anytime you asked. I mean, he had that.
Oh,
The only
God.
thing that like kind of not necessarily derailed his career, but he had that like 9-month suspension from football for a contract breach. Then he went over to Milan, and he hadn't performed as well as I thought he was going to. But I love Hakan Çalhanoğlu, man. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but I think
Get
he's
rid of
good.
the guy. Like they're desperately trying to
No.
get that guy off their team.
And
His
yeah,
eight-
they can cash in on him for sure. I would. I totally would. But
Yeah.
No, they can't.
I got one. Pierre-Emile Forsberg.
Jorge says Tolisso.
Dude, the Tolisso fan club, go away. Go away. No, the Corentin Tolisso fan club is horrible. They all think that he's a world-class player. I hate it. I think he's a good player, but they think he's world. Some of them think he's better than Leon Goretzka, which is comical. It's absolutely comical. But I actually have one of the Tottenham midfielder, Pierre-Emile Forsberg. He used to be a part of Bayern.
Nice.
He was a Bayern youth product. And I remember I was like, man, this guy's going to be something. And then he just wasn't. And then had a great year this year. So
and
I'm happy for
he had a
him.
really good game for Denmark today. I mentioned that earlier. He had a couple of very key passes that Braithwaite couldn't capitalize on,
Become
unfortunately.
very, I'm happy for him. It used to be Renato Sanchez as well, but you know, I always wanted him to do good, and I'll be hoping that he just shits the bed on Saturday. But
Renato Sanchez, does he play for Leo?
Yeah, they won the
Yes.
league.
Yeah.
That guy's fucking amazing.
Yep.
That
He
guy.
is- he's
That,
good.
you know what? You want to talk about
I hate it.
underrated?
You know why he's gone is because of Nico Kovac. Because Kovac
He's
is a
so
fucking
good.
idiot. Sorry, excuse my language. I
That-
No, I don't.
I've been watching.
Time here.
I've been watching
That's
the
why he's
French
gone.
league. I'm gonna rep the French league here for Jorge. The French league's so good, and I've been watching Lille for the last 3
Fun
seasons.
to watch.
It's so fun to watch, and Renato Sanchez is one of the most exciting players to watch. And whoever gets
So
that
good.
guy he is such a good player. He was so good against Milan in the Europa League.
Yeah.
I remember how dominant he was in that first game. He possessed that midfield. I still remember that. Like I think just like his physicality, the way he runs, the way he backtracks, the way he advances the ball. Like he's such a good player all around. And credit to their manager. I forget his name. Maybe you guys know Gautier or is it Gautier?
Yeah, Gautier.
Christophe Gautier.
Gautier. That guy is so underrated. You want to talk about underrated managers? Is he French? He's French,
Yeah,
right?
he's French. Yeah, he's French.
He'll be the future manager of France in the long term. You watch. Eventually, one day he will be. But that guy's a really good manager. Milan should have gone after that guy to transition maybe over their club or somebody, because like I don't see Pirlo staying more than half a year. He'll be done. That's just me. But what about you, Roberto? What player for you, man?
Do you have a random player that you stand for?
Just because I've seen him from the start, at least recently, I like Lautaro Martinez. I think he's a really good striker. I think I've seen him at his time at Racing. I think he's very strong, very quick. I think he likes to be in that position. I think that combination with Lukaku was very, in a way, not as, I wouldn't say very, very essential, but it was very important into the way that they won that Scudetto. So, yeah, in terms of pure striker, and I think the future striker for Argentina for the next decade, it's Lautaro Martinez.
I actually have a question for you guys. Whoever watched the Argentina game, this manager.
Which one? The last one or the one?
The last one. The last one.
The last one on Monday.
Yeah, I watched. I actually caught the game, and I was so
what
disappointed.
A free kick goal, by the way, by Messi.
I did see that.
Unreal.
Yeah, that was
unreal.
Awesome.
Hey, Cristiano 1-800 Messi. But anyways, freaking. All I gotta say is they don't know how to use Correa, because when he came on into the game, the guy was barely used all over the place, and I was trying to figure out. Correa plays in a 3-5-2 with Lazio. What the heck is he doing with Argentina? Because I saw him on the right side, I saw him on the left side, I saw him in the middle, I saw him in the back. Do they not know where to slot their players in positions, or does this manager just panic? Is there a game plan? Like, I need to understand you, Copa America experts, because it blew my mind how Correa actually did have two good chances. Oh yeah, I'm gonna ask Roberto now, because I think Roberto's the guy who has the answer for this.
Wow, so much pressure. I think this side is just so very much. I agree. Thank you for the love, guys. Appreciate it. I think these guys are very much. I don't know what's the word. I think Argentina are a side that are very much talented on paper. They have the players necessary, but it's just when it comes on the pitch, you don't know what to expect. You still see a defense that is still sketchy. What are we really going to see of Messi doing? How much can he really get from this side? And it's been a trend that we've been talking about for years as to why Argentina can't win trophies. They've been to finals. They've lost them. Penalty shootouts are a lottery, in my opinion. But I think it's just bad luck, I think. And certainly with this now new breed of players that are coming in, like you mentioned, Jerry, like Correa, like I mentioned with Lautaro Martinez, I think it's just the case of how that can function, at least until Messi is still there. And I think that's kind of why I don't see them. I think they're a talented side. I think they could definitely contend for this trophy. I don't see them winning it, in my personal opinion. Why not?
I got another question, last one.
Yep.
Why is there only two groups? Why are there only two groups in the Copa America?
There's not enough countries.
There's not enough countries. Technically there is, but that's a different story. It's 10 teams of 5 groups. 10 teams, 2 groups of 5. Top 4 qualify, and that's where you get your quarterfinals, because there's 8 teams. That's just how it works there.
So terrible. I don't like that, but it's just me. And I looked at it, I was like, wow, the Euros is way harder to win. I'm sorry, man. Like, the amount of teams you got to beat, the journey you got to get through, like the line and everything else. It's like, wow, like to get to the actual Euros, everything's just longer. Oh my God. You know what? Who was it that said that the Euros is the hardest thing to win?
Well, I know I've said it. I don't know if you're quoting me or not, but dude, I've gotten some serious heat from fanboys of South American teams before when I've stand for the Euros. I've gotten some unflattering comments.
I think the Euros is harder to win than the World Cup, personally, and I think it's going to be the most stupid take, probably.
Listen, there's something to it, and not to say every team in Europe is a powerhouse, but in the World Cup, you're guaranteeing entry to teams from Asia, to teams from the Australian continent. So CONCACAF. So obviously there are going to be some teams there that aren't really carrying their weight, whereas for the most part, in Europe, it's a deeper fold, compared to what you get in the World Cup, because you're guaranteeing spots to teams from continents that don't excel.
Tell me what team is really bad in this Euro, honestly.
North Macedonia.
And they haven't played bad, though. I gotta be honest, they haven't played that bad.
But in terms of
Turkey have probably looked the worst. Yeah, honestly, Turkey have looked really bad.
And you know what? The last thing about that, I'll tell you why Turkey has been so bad, because they're the youngest team in this league in the tournament, and it just proves that you don't go with an average age of 22
Go
years
call
old.
Joachim Low. Dial him up real quick, because that's what he's been trying to do for 2 years, is run a young team. Then he realized, it's probably a good idea to have veterans on my team. That would make some sense.
Bad, man. That's why Italy actually has a good blend, because you got that Bastoni, you got those like Barella, like they're the transition. But then you got the guys on the crisp of the back end of Chiellini, Bonucci. I don't know who else you want to put up. Maybe Immobile is up there too. You got that veteran experience that blends with the youth that is able to transition to the next World Cup Euros, where they are 26. They got that experience. Now you got the 20-year-olds who can go behind them, and you start blending that journey of the next decade, where you can start building that Italy squad. I just don't believe, when I heard that they were the youngest team against Italy on the opening day, I was like, I mean,
there's a couple of decent. They have three. Okay, so three of their players are from Lille, who won League One, as we mentioned. You have Selic, the right back, Yilmaz, and then Yaziki. You have Çalhanoğlu. You have a center back pairing of Demiral and Soyuncu, who, I mean, Demiral not so much, but Soyuncu has proved himself as a lesser. I mean, there's a couple of key players, but the youthfulness and the lack of togetherness is from the manager, from picking them and having them not play together, has definitely proven to be a huge factor. And they just don't seem like a team. And they did, for some reason, they were scoring great goals in qualifiers and games leading up to the Euros. But on the occasion, I guess it just got to them because of that inexperience. Even though Yilmaz is like 55 years old, that probably brought up the average more than it should have. But yeah, there's a couple of good players, but they need a lot of time and probably some good managing and experience.
Want to give everyone a chance to plug their work before we close out this episode. I'll start with Austin, who was just on mic. Of course, he and I and Kai were working together on Onside Radio. We all do still work together on the 5 Reasons Sports Network platform. So, Austin, let people know where they can find you, my friend, where they can find your work.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter. That's where I mostly tweet about soccer/football things if you want to listen, and the men's national team, sure. At Austin Robillard. It's mostly Inter Miami because we are South Florida based, but I go around the world. I do a bunch of stuff at Austin Robillard. I'll be contributing a lot more to 5 Reasons Sports, and I know there's some things upcoming, and I might have a couple of other things in the works too, just to create content on a daily basis. So at Austin Robillard on most platforms, especially Twitter. That's where you'll find me, in with the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Awesome. Hey, can I bounce off? How is it working for 5 Reasons? Guys, I see this 5 Reasons Sports Network everywhere on my freaking timeline. So
the fact that you're seeing it in Canada is a good sign that we've got some reach.
There is some reach, and it's fun. It's free flowing. You create the content you want to create. You have a lot of people that tune in. You can't really beat it
from time to time.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't really beat it. You get to create the content that you want to, and that's the best part about it.
Do you work for? Is this a place that you actually work for, and you do radio station and all that, or
no? That was so the radio station I was with Onside. That was the actual thing, and then that crumbled, and now I'm with them. We're going to work with something. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet, but I'll probably end up having some general football show in the future. It's just working out the fine details. I'll say that to keep it general. But yeah, it's from home. It's nothing that I really have a full commitment to. It's something that you can do in your own time. It doesn't take up too much time. It's all on you. You don't have to really focus too much. I need a day job. I have to make real money, So it's all up to you and your discretion, and it's not too committal, which is nice for me, a young person still growing up in the industry.
Yeah, it's nice that in the last week and a half I haven't had to leave home too much. It's not been bad. Usually I was filling up my car with gas every 3 days. Kai'Chien Chisholm, Mr. Samurai Radio. Where can people find you?
Well, I've been joking around for the past 2 weeks saying that I got fired. So you can find me on 5 Reasons Sports Network as well. I know something's cooking. I think that's pretty much the most I can say. But, something's cooking over at 5 Reasons, so things will be happening there. Of course, you can find me on my Twitter at Samurai Radio. And yeah, as you see it there, SAMURAIRADIO. And then I'm having a Bundesliga podcast. It's going to get delayed. I realize that maybe releasing it during the middle of the Euros was an idiotic idea. So it's going to get delayed until after the Euros. But
Well, talk, dude. You should do episodes and talk Germany and talk Euros, man. You can get it started that way, I think.
Yeah, there's going to be something. Hopefully, will happen Saturday to help along with that journey. So we'll see. Although I've been left on red, so we'll find out.
Why don't you do the journey of Miroslav Klose, because it's during the Euros and like his bangers in the freaking Euros.
Listen, if I do anything on the Euros, the first 30 minutes is going to be me talking about how Joachim Low is an idiot for leaving Thomas Muller, Jerome Boateng, and Mats Hummels out for as long as he did to bring a young core that didn't prove anything.
I will tune into that.
He's too busy scratching his balls.
It will be me yelling and sniffing his nose boogers, whatever. And I think, look, a quick last statement on that. Like, I think that Hansi Flick definitely helped that World Cup run in 2014. I don't think that Joachim Löw is as idiotic as people believe that he is. I just think that it's time. That's it. It's just time.
Amen. What about you, Roberto? Of course, you do the great pod with our other good friend Joe Usello, which we love, the Low Limit Football Pod, and you're big with BN Sports as well. Where can people find all your work?
Yeah, and again, thank you so much for having me. Like you had mentioned, we do a podcast every week with my friend Joe called Ultimate Football. Obviously, Alex been on, Jerry, you've been on as well. So it's something that we do every week. Just talk about what's been going on in the world of football from all over the world. You can check us out there at Low Limit Football on Twitter. I also do I do stuff at BN Sports as well, and I'm also doing stuff on Paraguayan soccer. So I have a podcast called Guarani Vision, which is the first ever podcast dedicated to Paraguayan soccer in English. We've been doing it for about a couple months now, getting a lot of good traction. Obviously, we're talking big and tied to Copa America, and we're just trying to give a different perspective of what, that part of soccer is like in that part of the world. And so, yeah, check it out there. Guarani Vision on Twitter, and on Twitter, follow me at Roberto Rojas 97.
Hey,
congrats
Roberto,
on that new project. That's awesome.
Hook these guys up with BN Sports, man. What's going on?
Can't say it. I'm sorry.
Got to get the man to put a word in. Jerry, where can they find you, man? I know you've been working overtime. You're writing about Chiro. You wrote. You've been writing about Inter a little bit as well, which I appreciate. Even though people call you an Interista, I have your back on that. I know you're a Laziale through and through. What do you have? What are you working on these days?
Basically about Correa and how if he still has a spot under Maurizio Sarri. I started writing that. I wrote up on the Italy game yesterday. I wrote up last week about Romelu Lukaku and how he's been important to Inter.
That was a great piece. I like that one.
I should have wrote how important he is to freaking Belgium. Never mind.
We'll write that one next.
He is so underrated, but I don't know. But yeah, I just writing about for Laziale and for Serpents of Modena. Yeah, I hope you guys both find a job in your field. I know it's not easy in the sports industry, especially a lot of people here being laid off as well, from TSN to Sportsnet. I know people who work in the industry and been laid off. I work for Frito-Lay, so I've been fortunate where I'm still on the front line.
We should be calling you for jobs, man. Forget about the sports media industry. You got to get me in with freaking Pepsi and Frito-Lay. Get me in somewhere, man.
I personally would
love
never
Pepsi, man. So
me too, and I love Doritos.
I would never get into the sports industry. Maybe 20 years ago, I would have. Now it's a difficult industry, and I give props to everybody who's in it and survives in it, because you guys are warriors, and it's not easy. It's hard, especially with the pandemic and not being able to go to games live and being restricted and going online to do like these press conferences. I did it last year with the TFC for World Football. And as the season progressed, I just became disinterested because it just wasn't the same when you're not at the games live, to be interviewing these players, to be there, to when you're doing it on a Zoom call, it kind of sucks the life out of it personally. Yeah. I do this for fun. I've been fortunate to maybe make a little bit of money on it, but it's more of a passion, especially during the pandemic, where it kind of gets my mind off stuff, being able to write and just kind of calms you, right? Podcasts, I don't know how people make money on podcasts. I guess if you have like advertisements, but I find podcasts are more just to have fun and mingle with people, right? And you just give out your expertise or whatever. But overall, yeah, I hope both of you guys are able to, and Alex too, do venture off to something else. Onside Radio lost out on 3 good guys.
Thank
So
you, man.
Thank you very much.
Shout out to
Appreciate
Miami,
that.
man.
I was
Yeah.
listening to Onside Radio, but now I have no reason to.
Well, you can't. You couldn't listen to it even if you wanted to.
Even if you wanted to try.
No, wasn't
Even
I?
if you
What
wanted
was
to
the
try.
thing I was listening to every day?
Well, yeah, but
know what I'm
man,
saying? Now you can't.
it's off now. It no longer exists.
Oh, it doesn't even exist
No,
anymore.
it doesn't exist anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Those guys fucked up.
What of the day? Oh man.
I actually liked the show. It was actually not bad. I actually enjoyed it. I would watch it I watched it on my I have that Roja freaking TV. What do you call
Oh,
it?
the Roku thing?
Yeah, Roku. I used to put you on my TV and I freaking listen. Sometimes you were live, sometimes you
What a
weren't.
guy.
Dude,
What a
that's awesome.
guy.
We
My
appreciate
father-in-law
you,
would
Jerry.
watch it too, man. But
Wow.
hey, is that your co-host? He knows off by heart. Yeah, listen. You know what? I like it because I get so sick of just listening to soccer podcasts. No offense, that it's nice to hear something different once in a while and just like venture off. I get so invested into football that I forget about North American sports of like hockey. I used to love baseball. I'm a 50-50 guy on that, but like
I'm like 0 on baseball.
If it-
these days.
0-0.
if it's not football for me, it's hockey or basketball normally. With football, like American football, there's so much downtime that it pisses me off now. It's so BS, man.
If it wasn't for fantasy football, I probably wouldn't care too much. But
Yeah.
fantasy football
Listen,
gets me
Tua
so
Tagovailoa is
so
about to light up
invested.
the league, so I don't want to hear it, bro.
We'll see. We'll see.
I'm a Cowboys fan, so
So your
God.
life has sucked for a while.
Yeah.
now.
Life
That's
sucks.
why.
my life sucks big time.
Oh, man.
Jerry
We-
Jones
we-
is. Oh,
Well, we appreciate everybody for tuning in, and make sure, by the way, whether you're watching this live or you watch it later on YouTube, smash the like button, hit the thumbs up button. It does us a huge solid. And for those listening to audio only on the podcast feed, make sure you subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your pods, Podbean. We're available on all the platforms. So huge shout out and thank you again. You guys can find me, by the way, on Twitter at Alex Donno and at the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We're working on some good stuff that we should be able to announce, I think, in the coming weeks. But work is being done, my friend. So huge thanks again to Roberto, to Austin, to Kai, to Jerry, as always. We will talk to you guys again next time, probably after another Azzurri victory on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.